Okay.
All right.
We ready to roll here, huh?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So getting ready for this evening, I feel like we've been putting a lot of pressure on ourselves to really have a solid game plan, solid layout of, stuff to bring you guys the heat, but I think that we're just gonna let things roll tonight. I do think that there's a place where I want to start, want to take it to, and kind of through some of our journey and kind of what we've been through and maybe some of the lessons we learned. But it's really going to be pretty organic. Um, I got my laptop up here, just old photos, just kind of diving back into some of the fresh content days and
Good
um,
memories.
yeah, and just trying to spark some of that stuff that we experienced along the way. But that's really it. So don't know what the title of this is going to be. Don't um. Yeah, I'm sure it'll come up at some point through here.
It'll just be like a one-liner throughout the episode. Yeah.
Something. But we're gonna make it happen. So, um, yeah, I guess I really wanted to start off with kind of where we originally met, and my daughter, she's 8 years old and was playing fall ball, softball, these past few months at Vernon Murphy here in Springfield, and that's really where I grew up. I grew up playing baseball. I think I played for like 14 years old. 14 years old. 14, 14 years until I got to high school and was basically like, fuck this is too hard. But that's where we originally met, right?
Right.
I think we went to school together, but I didn't fucking hang out with nerds, so
It is what it is, man.
nah, just saying. But
Yeah, it was baseball.
yeah. It was dude, it was like every time I pulled up, I fucking remembered something new. And that's really where me and my dad got pretty close. He was a coach when I was younger, but and then I think you went to a different school after that.
Mm-hmm.
What school did you go to?
Went to Roosevelt. Yeah,
Roosevelt.
middle school.
Yeah, I went to
Yeah.
Schaefer, man.
See, and y'all, we know the difference in Roosevelt and Schaefer.
Yeah. And it was the new one. I didn't get to experience the old one, but it was good. I mean, school's school.
Right. It was. I don't. For me, this is like kind of a side tangent. We talked about this not too long ago. Middle school was brutal for me. It was rough. High school, like everyone complains about high school, it wasn't that bad.
I experienced definitely some wildness in middle school, but it was more so my 8th grade year. Sixth and 7th grade, I feel like I fit in pretty good with like the quote unquote cool kids, the ones who were like doing some of the bullying or like some of the wild shit,
Mhm.
like gang shit or what trying to,
Sixth grade gang shit. There's the title right there.
gang shit. But
Ugh.
but 8th grade, man, that's when I started to separate from like the gangster type esque into like I started growing my hair out. I started getting
Oh
dreads.
yeah.
I started listening to like heavy metal. I wore like skinny jeans.
Oh yeah.
You
See, you want
know.
to talk about I used to be a nerd. We both ended up in the skinny jeans. Okay.
But that's really where not only didn't witness the brutalness, I started to be on some of the receiving
I
end of
see.
that.
Yeah.
And it was all friends, so it was like a different kind of bullying. But it was still fucking crazy. I think
Yeah.
kids just getting ready for high school, like trying to prove themselves, that moving forward that they're tough, or
Right.
I don't know, but
And then you start high school and you're like literally the bottom of the totem pole.
yeah, high school the first 2 years was like very low key for me. I just like slept. I skipped a couple I skipped a couple classes, smoked weed, whatever. But it was pretty laxed. My first 2 years, and the school I was in, it was easy because I was in like there was like the high school is broken down into 4 areas.
Right.
I was in the lowest, so like they didn't expect hardly anything.
Yeah.
But
It's kind of similar for me the first 2 years of high school because I was working. I started working at the country club, like really heavy the summer of 8th grade, going into high school. And I feel like I just found myself putting in more hours, more and more throughout those 2 years to the point where I remember specifically I took Mr. Kanabi's like it was like fucking IP in European history or something like what? Yeah, like what
What the
business do I have taking that
fuck?
class? And it was first period, and I literally just slept every single day to the point where he talked to me. And he was like, "Dude, why are you in this class? This is
Yeah,
an actual IP class. What are you doing
yeah.
in here?" I was like, I thought it was the wise thing to do. And he was like, "What are you doing sleeping here though?" I was like, "I'm working." So
I'm
it was
working.
a lot of working and sleeping during class, and then I actually homeschooled myself my last 2 years, which a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
But what was working at the fucking country club like?
oh man, it was
I
looking
I
back
mean,
on
you
it, it
was
was
13,
awesome.
right?
Yeah,
13 years
when I
old working
first
at the country
started,
club? That's wild.
yeah, I was well at the time I was a dishwasher. It was like nothing
Uh,
crazy,
yeah,
I was
sure.
just like putting my hands fucking elbow deep into like
Yeah.
greasy water and shit all night, but um I don't know. It kind of felt cool. You know how I actually started working as I wanted Vans. Like it was that talking about skinny
The
jeans.
sneakers?
Yeah, I wanted
Nice.
Vans, but my dad absolutely refused to buy them for me. He's
Like
like, they're gonna,
$40 shoes.
yeah, it's like they're gonna fall apart once I buy these for you. You're not wearing them unless you buy them yourself. I was like, well, fuck it, like give me a job. So I
Yeah.
just started working. So it was cool to be 13 and getting a paycheck. Dude, it wasn't anything more than like 150
Yeah.
bucks a week or something like that,
Yeah.
But um being the only 13-year-old that's like buying all the
Yeah.
fucking dudes like Burger King and shit and all the Monster energy drinks and um but as I got older, I started doing like more of the culinary side of things. Like so I started in
When you say older, like what, 17, 18?
I think I started as a pantry chef when I was like right before my 16th birthday.
Yeah.
So I was like 15 and three quarters, something like that. But I loved that. That like taught me how to have a critique or like at
Yeah.
least like a
Taste, like style, like a
yeah,
finesse, if you want to call
right,
it
yeah.
that.
Give
Yeah.
me some sort of like idea of finesse because I didn't know that was like a thing before. I was like, oh shit, you can be like a. It was always called like gangster, like that plate's fucking gangster, like
Yeah.
that's gangster chef. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or like, um, and along with that, my head chef, which you find this a lot in the culinary world, a lot of them are like ex-military people because culinary school is fucking expensive. They have to pay for it somehow, and a lot of people that love food, I don't think come from like fancy places or anything like that. So a lot of people end up going to the military when they want to get into culinary, which makes for some harsh kitchens. Like,
That was that when I think of people working in the kitchen, I immediately think of like Gordon Ramsay, like, you fucking piece of shit.
yeah,
Like, put that back in there 5 minutes, it ain't done.
it's
Yeah.
fucking raw.
It's fucking raw.
And yeah, it was a lot like that. My head chef Chad Reeve, I think, or Reeve, or I think that was his name. Um, he was a fucking hard ass.
Yeah.
Like, there's one story that I swear people don't believe me, but he threw a fucking Perry knife like across the kitchen because I like overdressed the salad or like someone frustrated him or something. Um, but it was like intensity like that, and my dad was no different because like, well, I work with my dad. Obviously, if you guys didn't catch that. Um, but he was more like the morning chef kind of guy, and I was working clearly second shift because of school and everything like that. But there was times where our schedules would like interlock or
Yeah.
intermingle because of like a holiday or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I always kind of thought that was cool. Like my dad's one of the hard asses in there,
Yeah.
but I'm not like the boss's son type of
Right.
deal.
Right.
I'm actually in there like getting fucking yelled at and shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, getting a paycheck early and or like a young age and be able to like have like cool shoot wearing exactly what I want to wear and he can't say shit about it.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of rebellion, but also feeling like I'm dope because me and my dad are in here like running this kitchen.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty cool. But
Yeah.
eventually, I just knew that like, dude, those kitchens don't exist now. I don't think not in 2023. And maybe they
I don't
do.
know.
I haven't
I'm not
worked in a
sure.
kitchen, but I would assume that there's like almost something about fine dining that has, and of course Gordon Ramsay like is he's like a pop figure now for the culinary world, So of course I think there are a lot of chefs that are like, if I don't have this fucking like blade to the stone type of like
Yeah.
sharp hard ass fucking personality, it's just not gonna come out, or I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be able to lead a whole kitchen without that.
Yeah.
But I'd be curious to see what it looks like without because I bet
Yeah.
that kitchen is really well communicated.
Well, and I think with the times, I feel like everyone's so sensitive, man, that for one reason that's it's dialed back, but then also you have a handful of leaders or people who are doing it big that have just found more effective ways to lead.
Then screaming at people.
Yeah, yeah. Versus like, motherfucker, you're gonna come with me,
Right.
or you're getting, versus like more of an empowering type of leadership, and um, but that's wild.
Right. Kind of thinking about that, um, you know, like rerouting or re-imaging where I was at that time and with that mindset, it's I mean, it's pretty obvious why I am the way I am in
Yeah,
a lot of ways now. Because that was my home life too.
yeah,
My dad was super, super hard on the just like you said, finesse. Like you have to have finesse. Like if you're not doing it to achieve perfection, you might as well not do it at all.
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Which is I don't know, I feel like that's kind of a failure disease, but also, I mean, what do you
yeah.
feel about that?
And what I feel about if you're pushed too hard, like you're pushed too hard to be perfect, is what you're asking,
I
or
guess so. We're like this mindset that if it's not like I don't know, everyone's a critique, and
yeah,
culinarians are no different than artists in a lot of ways, but um I feel like if you put so much pressure on perfection, you're like gonna drag yourself through the whole process rather than like you can still
yeah.
work as hard as you are right now, but without the ceiling that you're putting on yourself.
Well, especially if you pair that with like you can never be perfect. Yeah, if you pair with like aiming for perfection, but you also believe that like perfection isn't real and you're always like on the chase or on the verge of,
Right.
then to me that sounds like something you can't even control. I mean
Mhm.
you can, but it sounds like it's something you're always gonna aim for, but you're always gonna be let down. And to me that sounds like a bummer. But I heard last year, I think, it was a Facebook video. I hear a lot of good quotes from Facebook or Instagram videos, reels, whatever. But um, practice don't make perfect; it makes improvements. And I feel
Mm.
like as long as you're aiming for, you know, to be perfect, quote unquote, but it's like I just need to be better than the last one, more so.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I obviously I want to be the best I can, but I don't think I aim for perfection. I don't think that's something that I really think about is like I try to be the best I can, but I think that's different to perfection.
Right.
Yeah, to me, it just sounds like a lot of fucking letdowns.
Oh yeah.
If I'm experiencing failure after failure after failure, I think it's time for me to step back and like evaluate what I'm even shooting for. Because if I'm gonna do something that's gonna be fucking so hard to master or to not fail at, simply
Mhm.
not fail, it's like let's find some kind of steps. I mean, you've heard me say plenty of times over the years. It's like let's work on the foundation and let's hit all the steps all the way up. So if I'm just trying to make this big leap and it's so hard, why not just dial it back? And then we
Right.
got we got time. I'm playing a long game. Why not dial it back and take a couple baby steps and maybe make it easier to hit that.
Mhm.
Um, but I try not to even think about failure too much. I try to only think about failure when I feel it and I actually realize that I have failed.
I
Yeah,
see.
so I just try to lead myself into just being better than I was before, but I'm not thinking about perfection and I'm not thinking about failure. I'm just kind of fucking in the moment. Also working towards goals and thinking about those next steps, but I'm really just focusing on those next steps versus
An extreme.
extreme.
Because I
Yeah.
kind of see it as like a timeline, perfection being all the way at the right end and then failure all the way at the far left end, but
Yeah.
finding a sweet spot right in the middle where you're like able to continually grow
Yeah.
and not be like bogged down or like dragging yourself through the process of something or because growth is, really as long as you want it to be, I would
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. And most people who start that chase, realize that there's not really a finish line until you're finished, like
Right. Until you
gone,
say you're,
like, and yeah, until you either decide like, okay, I'm good here,
oh,
let's
you
put
meant
on another
gone.
pie, or I literally meant gone. Like most most people who achieve at such a high level will just keep fucking working until they die.
You would
You know,
think, or you
you
actually, I
know,
mean, it happens.
Doug Haney, my client, I feel like he has achieved a level of success that he's stoked on. He's like 3, 4 years from retirement, and he just got his real estate license, and he's like buckling down to do the next thing, not because he has to, but because he wants to do something,
Hmm.
And I think most people do. Um,
It seems infectious.
yeah, even if the money financial side hits a spot, now it's like, okay, how do I make my property or my house nicer? Like, there's
Hmm.
always something. Because if we're not chasing something, it's like, what do I do? Just sit around and fucking twiddle my thumbs until I die? Like that don't,
Right.
Um, but I don't know, man. I think that it's just all about finding that sweet spot for yourself. Um, but
So what was working like for you? Did you do like side jobs or anything when you was a kid before you started tattooing?
I worked for Mount Wayne. Like I worked for a tree service for a summer. That was cool. Um, yeah, and I feel like from what I heard from the people I was working with, like if I would have stuck with that, I probably would have fucking been, like I had all the attributes that makes someone good at what they're doing. But I feel like I can dial that back to work with my dad as well. In baseball, I attribute a lot to baseball. Lessons learned and um, how to operate myself and a work ethic and just through practice and like that finesse side of things, just working on my hand-eye coordination, swinging a bat, and also the competition side of things, dude. I learned a lot. I learned a lot in those years. Towards the end, maybe I got a little bit of a resentment towards it because my dad kind of got wrapped up in things and he kind of split off and we really didn't do the baseball thing together. And then I got to high school and was like puking in the trash can from running laps. I was like, fuck
Oh,
that,
fuck this, dude.
But I attribute a lot of those years to a lot of the skills I gained. And I feel like if I would have moved forward with tree service, I would have had grooves and, stuff like that. But it really, that wasn't for me. I think I got poison ivy like three times that
Oh
summer. I was like,
no,
fuck
dude.
this. Out there picking up logs and throwing them in chipper. I'm like,
Mm, not for
nah.
me.
But that was also the summer that was leading up to me going to CTC, and that's really where that kind of opened up. It opened up something for me that kind of made me want to do something in the art field. Um, which is a tough field. You got like graphic design, being like a freelancer and doing jobs for commercial advertisement agencies, shit like that, creating
Hmm.
digital stuff, which I did not want to do. I didn't want to do Photoshop or Illustrator. And looking back, I kind of wish I would have learned some of those things a little better. But um, one of the only other things that really paid well that I seen was being like a medical illustrator, like for medical textbooks and doctors, hospitals, stuff like that. But um, I do think the schooling and stuff there was pretty expensive, and uh, so I don't know if I really had a plan, but yeah, I think that doing some of the drawings early on in class and learning some of the techniques and technical side of things paired with some of the things that I had learned growing up, through sports or working with my dad or whatever, really kind of helped me just take things to the next level, I guess. I also had a pretty good childhood. I think I grew up with my great grandparents, and grew up in the church and grew up youth group on Wednesdays, Sunday school on Sundays, and fucking Bible study on Tuesdays, church camp in the summer. You know what I'm saying?
Jeez,
Like,
you was doing all of it.
well, I was, and I didn't hate it by any means. I think towards the end, when I say towards the end, my grandpa passed away in 2009, and that was my freshman year. So as I was getting to high school, that's when I kind of started to rebel and
Hmm.
like wanted to go less and was smoking and um but um forget where I was going with that, but
Oh, you're talking about principles, and I do, because you talk about
Oh
that a lot.
yeah, yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like those
yeah,
principles definitely have stuck with you,
yeah,
despite like maybe not the habits of like being going to that particular building to partake in like these very particular group setting type of deals, or you know, going to service or whatever. But
yeah,
the principle of what it really was giving you
yeah.
stuck.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And dude, the thing I remember the most is the fucking golden rule: just treat others how you want to be treated. I think that was like the single most valuable thing I did learn in church. And it's always stuck with me. So I've always tried to be a nice person, kind person. And you said it earlier. The first time a boss give me patience, well, it's like, well, I want patience. Like I want people to
Right.
give that to me, because I know sometimes I'm not the quickest learner. And. Um, but yeah, I learned a lot of good stuff in church. I had a lot of family in the church, and a lot of people did love to see me come back. And there's been certain times, periods of time where even my daughter's like, "Dad, let's go to church," and I'm like, "Fuck, that's so early on Sunday. That's so early on
Yeah.
Sunday." And it's like the first day that I don't get to sleep in anymore. But like to just not have an agenda. Like I really don't want to get up and go to church and sit through a service. And even though Maiden Lane, the church we went to, has some good pastors, um, I got Tim in my inbox now. I'm meaning to respond to him. I was a pastor at church that is trying to reconnect and send some business my way. But I don't know, man. It's just the act of actually going to the church is really the biggest
Right. I think that's what gets a
obstacle for
lot of
me,
people. Yeah, it's like I can do all this at home, maybe, but they say we're supposed to come together,
Yeah.
but
I don't know. It was always a decent experience. I'll tell you this, my great grandparents, we were like the hub for all the kids. Like youth group on Wednesdays, they had open gym for like the first hour of church, like youth group. So we had this like old fucking Chevy wagon, this like it's like almost purple but like red, like a burgundy looking Chevy wagon, and there would be like fucking 12 kids in the back piled in. Car would be all steamy and shit, and they would just haul us all down there. But all the neighborhood kids would like skip church and run the neighborhoods and just like be hooligans, but I was always like too scared to do
right,
that.
like, dude, I'm gonna get my ass busted if I
So
if I
like,
don't go do
I'm gonna
this.
stay here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I learned a lot there, and I still find myself even today relating with coaches or like personal development people who are in the into ministry or like into those values, because I just think they're really good, whether you believe, whether you don't believe, the universe, God, whatever. I find myself in that area. Um, I feel like just the principles are so good, man, and
Mhm.
really just it kind of shows you. They say be Jesus like, which is, you know, anytime I hear the word Jesus or God, it almost makes me cringe a little bit. I don't know, just I guess because I'm thinking too much about the character of God or Jesus
Versus
and
the
not the meaning
message.
and the
Yeah.
message, like how he is. I'm thinking more of like what he looks
You're
like. And when I think about what he
right.
looks like, I'm like, that's fucking stupid.
Especially, I'm sure, being a tattooer, you just like see the face is like with like the praying hands.
yeah. Yeah, white Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't know. I relate to a lot of that stuff, man. Um, I've mentioned John Maxwell. He's one of my favorite authors in the leadership field, and he's big into ministry.
That's like how
You
we got to
know,
start,
mm-hmm.
like taking
Yep.
taking over a church and stuff for
Mm-hmm. And just
someone.
blowing it up.
Yeah.
Not literally, obviously, like, with the amount of
Oh
people in
Lord.
attendance. Simmer down
No way.
now.
Holy
but
shit.
but yeah, man. And I think that it's allowed me to really build. It's really give me a hands up or heads up or an advantage in the tattoo industry, um, because I've been able to build good relationships. I've been able to connect with people, and really value care about them as clients and just who they are. Even if I didn't tattoo them or even work with them, the level of being able to just show them respect and treat them like a good person or human, um, has really been impressionable. And even today, like people who either can't afford to get tattooed by me or whatever the case may be, they're just like, man, fuck yeah, you deserve what you're doing, which fucking feels so good. Um, to know that they could probably never afford to get a tattoo by me, but they're still like, man, you're fucking dope,
Yeah,
and
like
you
advocate.
and you deserve everything you're getting. Is so fucking cool. Um, so I don't know how we got here from my dad teaching me lessons on the ball
Yeah.
field, but this is how conversations go
Yeah, this
all the
is
time.
yeah, we kind of like I don't know if we said this at the beginning. I know we said it like in episode 1 that it would be cool to just start sharing a little bit more of like the natural conversations that we have.
Yeah,
Um cuz they do happen.
yeah,
Sometimes they don't happen in a setting like this anymore where it's just like me and you sitting in a room
yeah,
cuz we don't have that fucking hour-long car ride,
yeah,
to Centerville anymore. So there's usually like an apprentice or a fellow tattooer, or a client, which doesn't matter, necessarily because I think we have a lot of open conversations anyway. But uh, I don't feel like we ever have like the time to like bullshit. I
yeah,
guess it's like we have to get to the point and get
yeah,
to it fast.
yeah,
Um, or I guess that's just how it's been maybe like the
yeah,
last year or so, which
yeah,
isn't bad because I think that shows that we have I think that I've spent more time and gotten more progress in a relationship. I haven't gotten more progress in a relationship with anyone else than I have with you, and that comes from a lot of good conversations all the time, one on one with somebody, and of course, like being open and willing to learn someone else's ways. Because like full transparency, me and you have definitely butt heads before, like
oh
not
yeah,
getting each other's ideas or something like
yeah.
that.
Within the past year,
Like
within the
recent,
within the
like
past year, like shit got a little heated. But I think that sometimes family, you have those conversations more than anyone. I don't know, but I've always loved the fact that we could go there, get it out, and then bounce back.
yeah, just go
Um,
back to what we were initially trying to figure out or
yeah,
settle on or
yeah,
come to an agreement with or
and of course, I feel like you know, like a money connection helps that, but I think that it's definitely a lot deeper than that. And I think that just the respect that we've been able to build, and how many times you've had my back and how many times I've had yours, to know that this is just a moment in time.
right. It's a trust.
Um, but yeah, man, I want to jump back again. Where we were at when we got started working together. And it's I want to jump back to that. We're about to turn this camera back on. So hang 1 second, and I'll pick up where we left off.
Bam.
Yeah. Cool. We're back. Um, yeah, I just kind of want to dive back into kind of where we were at when we got started and how it even came about. And uh, I've always been a big fan of just like when it's meant to happen, or like when it's supposed to happen, like things just fucking fall into place. It'll be easy, like it won't
Yeah.
be forced. And if it is forced, it's probably not a great idea. And I've always thought how we've got together, was always kind of crazy. Working, just got hired on at Aisle 9. Now Aisle 9 just opened, and he hired on an art or a videographer here out of Springfield, I believe. I'm pretty sure I'm telling this correctly, as far as the timeline goes. But as soon as he brought someone on and he started making content, I was like, damn, like that's probably something I should think about. Like uh, within a few months of working there, I was able to, create some extra income, raise my rates a little bit, create some extra income, and was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna see if I can find someone who uh, could do this. Someone who wants to start out entry level, and by no means was I paying much, but it's funny. I just decided it. I just decided. I said it out loud, and then I got online and seen you make a post. I was like, oh shit, let me
What are
just
the odds?
yeah, what are the odds, And it's funny because I know you've seen this happen multiple times with multiple people who are in the studio now working, people we have relationships with. Um, but sometimes just the power of like deciding and just saying it out loud and you
Oh
know,
man.
um, but I think you've told the story a few times of like how you felt when I sent you that
Oh
message.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I thought it wasn't real. I thought it was like one of those like the bot spam Instagram
Like,
message. I was like,
did he
did
get hacked?
yeah, bro, did Chris
Like,
get hacked? Because dude, so vividly, because I was living with my buddy Alex Shu at the time, and it was like, of course, it was fucking late tattooers. In
yeah,
general, you're messaging in your business like
yeah.
super fucking
Like,
late,
damn, is he messaging me at midnight right now?
bro, for real. And I
Like,
remember like, me and Alex were night owls at the time because I was working third shift, and he was like always gaming, fucking
yeah,
24 hours, And I went and like knocked on his door. I was like, dude, I need you to. He was a cave person. He didn't leave his room for shit unless he had to.
yeah.
And I was like, I need you to come out right now and look at this message. Is this fucking weird? Is this real? And I didn't even have a car at the
Yeah.
time, like no vehicle. I was
Which was a
walking to
blessing
work.
in disguise, I think.
It really
But
was. Again, serendipity,
yeah,
man. Just like things happen as they're supposed to happen, and it's just gonna be. I want to say easy, but I feel like that's like being too modest. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Not having enough humility because it was definitely hard in a lot of ways. There's a lot of struggles that I had once I started doing it, but quite frankly, once I kind of got past like the whole "is this real" thing, I was like, well, fuck yeah, I'm doing this. Like, fuck doing factor. I don't have to lift another box or a can of cat food again unless I'm feeding my own animal.
yeah,
Absolutely. Um, but it was so gung ho. I even remember that I was trying to, which again, before I say this, if you're leaving your job or something like that, finish your 2 weeks out. Um, I didn't do that. I definitely walked out on one day that I knew you had asked me to get my bloodborne pathogens and my first aid done. Um, and I think that was like, I don't think it's crucial for a photographer to have that, but I would
yeah,
almost going forward ask that it be done just the first time so you fucking know everything and maybe just bare minimum to show your commitment to like getting in a shop. But they were like trying to hold me back for like a 16-hour shift, and I was like, fuck y'all, like I'm leaving right now because I have shit to do when I get home. Like, bro,
yeah,
I haven't touched a camera in like a year,
yeah,
and I'm about to like this is all that my job I'm about to be doing, so I need to go home and figure this shit out.
yeah,
So I remember I just had, which I still have this to me now. Maybe I'm a little fortunate, I think, and I'm grateful for this. Talking about like before the show, was talking about what things we're grateful for, and I'm very grateful that in my space right now, I don't feel like I have to be as extremely gung ho about like projects that I'm working on or whatnot. But at the time, that was such a shift for me from everything else I had been doing prior that it just sent me down this like spiral hole, almost like an obsession of
like
like,
like clock in, clock out versus like actual creating like passion projects, or maybe not passion projects, maybe that's not the right word, but using like some form level of artistry and like care as far as style, critique,
finesse.
effort,
I got
yeah,
to go back
finesse.
to finesse, and
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing. Is because I was always, I mean, gonna sound a little deep, a little like mildly depressing, but when I had left the kitchen, um, in a lot of ways, it felt like I left my dad behind. You know what I'm saying? Because that was what he was still doing. That's like
Damn, that did get deep, bro.
right, and it hits hard, and I've
Yeah.
had to come to terms with those things because full transparency, like I haven't always had a good relationship with my dad or like my parents or any of my family really. Um, but when I like stopped working in the kitchen, and like decided definitively not to go to culinary school because it was insanely expensive. I'm not going to the fucking military.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I'm not doing that
Yeah.
shit. So I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. So I just stopped being in the kitchen. So not only did I like lose the one thing that I thought that I had built with my dad, but I also lost my opportunity at finesse in life. You know what I'm saying? This is a one thing that I can like, I know for sure um, that I can do it, and I've been validated that I do it well, and it's been approved. Like I have my dad's
Yeah.
stamp on it. You know what I'm saying? Because unlike you, sports was not my fucking thing. You know, I was. I remember there was a like 2-year period in baseball where I felt really good. I was playing catcher, and I felt like I was actually doing something well. Then I went to Babe Ruth, and
Yeah.
that was big boy shit. I got
Yeah.
hit with a baseball like twice, and I was
Like,
fucking done
done.
with that shit. It's stupid. I'm not about to go to fucking like literally. I remember how this is so funny, but I remember it's like around the same time I started to become rebellious, and like started saying fuck and like to my parents, flipping them off and shit. But I was like, dude, no, I'm not going to practice. Like that's dumb. I just got hit with a ball multiple times.
Yeah.
You want me to go back? I'm not doing that. Hindsight 2020, it probably didn't hurt that bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think that I had walked away from my opportunity to have finesse in the world, and I was just like, talking about drifting, just drifting throughout trying to find something. But after a while, you kind of stop looking that hard for it because you don't feel like it really exists. It
Yeah.
like it maintains like a dream,
Yeah.
and that's all that it could be,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and that's really just the picture that the school system's created, that you just have to get a job. You just have to do
Mm-hmm.
something just to fucking make your money that way. And passion projects are just kind of on the side or can't take place because you got to go to work.
Right, and they can't be the priority.
Yeah.
They probably can't be,
Yeah.
because that's what it was for me, and I really wish that I'm surprised I didn't. I was working a lot, so clearly, and I was sleeping through like fucking lunches and stuff like that, but I really wish I would have learned about CTC. So I do think that if I had done that, I may have opened up some doors to thinking there was other options
Yeah.
for me. Um,
Yeah.
Besides like just being at this hard ass kitchen. So I just have like this hard ass personality that's been passed down to me from my mentors.
I feel like culinary at CTC is the cheat code then, if culinary school is that expensive. Or do you have to get like another level after CTC for culinary?
Well, I shouldn't don't take my words for this, but like when I was working at a kitchen, or when I was working at the country club, I should say, there's not a lot of fine dining in this area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fair.
we have like Cecil and Lime, so they really put themselves on a pedestal working there, because they were doing things in this area that nobody
else is
even
doing. Yeah.
just like thought about doing. You know what I'm saying? But now we have like a couple of really hot restaurants around here that I think are putting a little finesse on it.
Yeah.
But for me, don't quote me on this because I don't know anything about culinary now, but I don't feel like you need to have insane degrees to get into a good kitchen.
Yeah.
I think maybe you just need to prove that you know how to.
Work ethic, fucking accountability, consistency, success principles that you operate by.
Right.
I feel like that's the cheat code for anything.
It
Like
is.
like certain degrees you need to certain professions, but I feel like a vast majority you just got to be able to learn and be a student of what you're doing. I think that's why apprenticeships are dope. Even though I know some artists are like fucking apprenticeship, learn by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely feel like if you're able to get into a shop and go through a good apprenticeship, there's so much value to it.
Yeah, for
'cause
sure.
that's really just what you need in today's world.
And it's really
But-
funny thinking about it because food is a lot like art, because you have like, you could say color theory, but there's flavor theory. There's
Yeah.
a whole thing on flavor theory that you can apply a lot of the same principles as art theory to food. So sure, someone might be able to like say by looking at a degree, oh, you should be able to understand food theory, and I don't need to explain it to you whatsoever. I'm going to plug you into this like extraordinarily high-end restaurant that we don't have to teach you any of the basics. Like you're so far beyond the basics that like this is the spot for you, but that's really just a piece of paper, right? Like make me a piece or make me a dish. Because we know that like art degrees will teach you a lot. I can speak from that on experience because I don't know like design super well, like
Yeah.
hierarchy or like
Well,
way.
the benefit is that it's force fed and you don't have to find it yourself.
You're right.
You know, that's the benefit.
It's
If
like
you want
pay
to
for
learn it
this
fast,
information
yeah,
now.
paying for it to get shoved down your throat and not have to search for it. But the information's there. You
But then
just,
you still have to make something
yeah.
when you're done with it, right? Because you don't
Hmm.
like, I can't possibly expect that if, and of course, when you're whether you're in art school or like culinary school, you're making dishes as you go, right? You're like making art pieces as you go. And that's what eventually becomes your, whether it's your portfolio or um, like your final grade or whatever, which is usually your portfolio, right?
Hmm.
Or your thesis kind of thing, you're still putting practice in as you go, but um, let me throw you in a kitchen where you've got like fucking 9 tickets
Yeah.
and like all those dishes are shit that you've made. That's awesome because that's almost the highlight of it is like, I have a dish that I've made. Okay, but serve 500 of them in a night on top of
Yeah.
desserts and like making sure that everything's coming out at time. Um, so there's like a paceness to it, but to correlate that to maybe art is like working with clients, like pacing yourself with the client well, and like making sure that they're. This isn't never a thing like comfort levels and stuff like that because I feel a lot of your clients are like pretty normal. They're never really like super stressed and
That's
anything like
fun.
that.
That's a funny way to put it. Pretty normal.
Yeah, it is.
No, I mean, there's definitely people out there that are not. They're
Yeah,
not.
they're very.
They are characters,
Yes.
which teach their own. But uh, that's funny. That's a funny way to put it,
Yeah.
though.
But I don't know, like I don't even know how we got here, but
Well, I think if we circled back, we were talking about kind of where you were at when we got started, and kind of
oh,
kind of some of the
right.
going from not having to lift another box to now looking for something that you can apply
Creativeness to it, my
creativeness to it
finesse.
because you're for sure creative. Um,
Never really knew that, I think. I
yeah,
don't think I really ever knew that until I started doing this, but yeah, starting out it was like I was gung ho as fuck cuz I
yeah,
was able to like this was my shot. This was like my one and
yeah.
only like this never happens ever which
Well, and I
now
do feel like also like just coming on board, working at aisle 9, working with
yeah,
obviously, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or anything here, but at that point, I feel like I had established some sort of uh not I wouldn't say professionalism, but stature or some sort of like
repertoire.
repertoire to my name that coming in with really no can I mean, you were taking some photos, but it was like band photos or like just like random shit,
Really random nature
so it's
photos.
like, okay, at least he pushed a button on a camera and he's,
Yeah.
you know. So there definitely was a lot of pressure there because Hip was working there, Zach, Matt Clemmer, a lot of guys that were pretty heavy hitters.
Yeah.
There was a pretty elite lineup when all the OGs, Ink by Aaron, Babs, everyone was solid, and you were coming into an environment, a shop that did feel upper echelon.
And I
You
didn't know
walk,
shit.
you
I didn't
didn't
know
know
fucking
shit.
shit.
But and that's why I say that not having a car at the time was really a blessing in disguise because the shop was 40 minutes away. I could pick you up on the way out of town, and we had 45 minutes to kill in the car.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times, like I was forced. I feel like the conversations didn't have to be forced, but if I was to put it in in a way that they were, like I was definitely driving some conversations. Like I was
Oh
definitely
yeah.
pushing the needle and like trying to move things forward and try to figure you out and try to figure out your hot buttons and like what made you tick and like what you were trying to achieve and what you wanted your future to be like. And there was all kinds of good conversations we had that I think that really were so crucial to where we are now.
Mhm.
Um, but I knew that I had to build that vision with you. I knew that I had to I couldn't make it all about me and where we're going for myself. And from day one, I do feel like I've always tried to be, what do you want to do? Like what worst case scenario, you get so big at what you're doing, like I almost want that. I don't want you to be like cap. I want to support you in what you wanted to do and like what you wanted to achieve at. And I've always tried to be there. And I feel like that's why you've bought into the tattoo brand so hard. And I feel like that was definitely earned some respect with you and earned. Maybe you felt like I had your back, so you've always had my back, kind of thing.
Yeah, 110%.
Yeah.
Because like I hadn't ever been asked those questions before.
Charlie Horse.
Oh no!
Fuck, dude.
No!
I just got a Charlie Horse from Al. Okay, it went away.
Let me say, I've never seen so much fear on your face. Holy shit!
Woo! I need
good?
a nanner. I need a banana.
No way, man. Holy shit.
Woo!
But no, yeah, I 110%. That definitely like is it still getting you?
It just came back. Good.
But but yeah, it definitely it got some trust in me for sure because I had never been asked that question before.
It's gone.
It's gone. Okay.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, I had never been asked questions like that before, I definitely like even growing up, it's so cheesy now is like asking a little kid what they want to be when they grow up. It's just now I understand it's more of a cute.
Cringy.
It is cringy, but I now understand that it's for the adults. I think more than anything.
Well, I heard a podcast the other day, and I want to circle back to that, so don't forget where you're at. But, like when you feel like something's cringy, it's really just like your inner child being excited about something that as you've grown up, you've just learned or been made to feel that is not normal, and now it's cringy. But really, it's like your inner kid excited about what it was passionate about or was stoked about at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But,
that makes a lot of sense.
That was random. Good.
But, I, even growing up, didn't feel like I got a lot of those questions. I did because I know for sure that I, like, wanted to be a fucking astronaut growing up. You know what I'm saying? Because I just loved space so much. It was so cool. But in your, like, teenage life and then into your young adult life, I don't feel like I was getting asked those questions a lot. And furthermore, to sound so silly, but I like didn't even know that I could ask myself those questions. You know what I'm saying? And I struggled with like anxiety and depression for such a long time, and a lot of that was rooted in like this idea that like just even the thought that I didn't know I could ask myself those questions, like what I really wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? To even step out into like, well, okay, so what is it? Okay, you want to do that? What's it look like to start doing that without like being perfect or anything like that, and I do feel like every time that I had an idea for something, because I was in music and stuff, that was kind of where I went after high school, was just like playing music and stuff. I didn't really do it a lot publicly or what have you, but I've wrote and recorded a lot of songs that like nobody's ever heard. But every time I had like a new idea for something or a new pathway, I was always getting pulled back into that like no patience zone where I need to have it now, and if I'm not doing it, then I might as like it's clearly not
back
here.
Into the realistic world,
dude. Oh my god, I remember we used to butt heads over the realistic thing, like, which now it's so funny because I see like, maybe not so much now to plug like a couple of the artists that I feel like we spent a lot of time with, Taya and Grace at our shop. I think that realistic talk happened a lot. Like, well, what's realistic?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's, this or that, or, maybe I'm not going to be, fuck all that.
Yeah.
And I learned from firsthand kind of what you just said, like the power of speaking into something, like physically saying it, almost like a spell.
Yeah.
That you can actually make things like happen in a way, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or at least that's like the first start of it, because of course everything takes a lot. Like if you want to become great at something, or be known as great for something, you're gonna have to put on a lot of time, effort, and all those things for it. But I don't know. I just was so afraid to pull the trigger on anything
Yeah.
because I was always getting pulled back to that whole like, if it's not perfect now,
Yeah.
I can't do it. And like, I was experiencing a lot of failures, which is why I asked that question earlier. Is I experienced so many failures back to back, just constantly wishing that I was perfect, that I was like, well, fuck this is clear not it. But
Yeah.
it just felt like I did that with so many different things, and like,
Maybe all this realistic shit's true, and I'm just in this box, and
bam,
you know, everyone around me I see they're doing the same shit. Maybe it's just true.
maybe that's just a reality, like
Yeah.
a fact of
Which
life.
which really sucks, and I always, and I did. We definitely had a lot of conversations on that, and I feel like you just do yourself such a disservice, because what if it's not? What if it's not realistic and you can fucking do whatever you want, Like, what if it's not? I would almost rather believe that that's not the case and I have unlimited capabilities and fall short of that than to just be like, no, it's realistic and just keep myself in that box automatically,
Right.
There's I think the world is so crazy and there's so much shit to it that why not just believe crazy shit? Like,
What do you have to lose,
what do
really?
you have to lose, man? Just fucking
Let's
put it
answer
out
that.
there and just anything's possible.
The only thing I think you have to lose, is your ego in that. Because for me, it was like I didn't want to be embarrassed. I didn't want to be
That's
embarrassed
good right
again,
there.
rather,
Yeah.
because I had
Ooh.
already experienced failure so many times that I was like, I got to a point where it's like, I'm gonna keep in this box.
Yeah.
I'm
I don't want to see anyone else. I don't want anyone else to see me take another one on the chin.
right.
Another
I can't do
loss.
it. Like, and we had conversations about this podcast in particular, as like, um, just again being, because on your page I barely get posted. I think I've been posted on your page like 3 or 4 times, so it's
Yeah.
become really easy, I think, in my like introverted self to buy wholeheartedly into your brand, because it doesn't require necessarily my voice or all of my mind. You know what I'm saying? It does require a lot of my artistic, capabilities, or like the marketing behind it and stuff. Um, but something like this requires me to like step in and put my face on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you see me talking and living any
Yeah.
of these things. So every person that I was ever worried about like seeing me fail again is gonna see this right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whenever this episode
Yeah.
like plants,
Which to me is cool because they're in the stands watching, and I'm not downplaying anyone who's watching this, and we appreciate you guys for checking in, but like we're on the playing field right now. Um, and even if you take one on the chin, at least you're in the game, and not in the nosebleeds or in the background, fucking keeping tabs. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
Which to me makes me feel good. But dude, I love that about the ego and like it makes me think of keeping up with the Joneses and I think that we all want to look good to other people and we want to fucking people to see us and be like, damn, that motherfucker hits, like
He
they're on to
never
something.
misses.
Yeah. That boy don't miss.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's the
He don't
fucking
miss.
where he's like playing the trap, or like what Bach sounded like, or like Beethoven. The first time people heard Beethoven, it was like, he never misses.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, to put your ego aside and jump in the game and just fucking whatever happens, that's dope.
And specifically that whatever happens,
Yeah.
because like if you go into it, like, dude, that was a hard lesson for me to learn, is like, if you're like going into it thinking about like, I'm not gonna lose this, I have to play just well enough to not lose, you're never gonna be really winning. You know what I'm saying? You have to go in there thinking, I'm gonna win that fucking
Yeah.
game,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna win at this thing, for you to actually do it. Even
Yeah.
maybe at a level where you need to speak it
Yeah.
and tell other people.
I think the biggest test for that, man, that I think the biggest times that I remember looking back and is like competing in competitions at shows, and not winning, and you're like, I've seen artists literally throw chairs and like be pissed and like
Man.
make a scene, but I think that times those times stand out to me the most. But it's like, man, I lost to a badass, so it's like not really a loss. But
Right.
it's hard, to put the ego aside because everyone knows that your piece just got up there. Everyone at the shop, everyone that came with you, all your clients,
Mm.
your client, they all got up there, and now they just seen you fucking take an L, and you were banking on winning, you know?
Right, like, you really thought
Mm,
that it was gonna be it.
yeah, that's a tough one right there. Um, one of my best friends hip. I've seen him happen a lot. It's happened to both of us. That's a tough one, but I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, dude, like, fucking, again,
Yeah.
organic conversation, it's good. And, it it's funny that, you get so much out of competition because I think, well, I think for a long time, again, just like being in that box, I didn't want to compete because if I don't compete, you can't compare me
Yeah.
to anything.
Mm,
And if you can't compare
mm,
me to anything, you can't really get an even judgment on like who I am as a
yeah.
character or how
Yeah.
much I've put into this world. I can just like scave on by
Yeah.
and really just avoid any kind of like critique, like any kind of artistic critique about me as a person
Mm,
altogether.
yeah.
Um, which is really just like playing into fear and like, dude, I'm gonna hold
Yeah.
on to my ego because that's clearly the thing that's most important to me here. Versus like what I'm actually putting out into the world. Um, which is
That's
how,
cool.
you I think eventually get to humility. And I think like, dude, one of the best dudes I've ever met, like Hondo, he's always told me like you either be humble or be humiliated, dude. And that's a fucking fact,
Yeah.
Um, so
He stopped in the shop today.
did he?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Just for a few minutes. I was signing some papers and stuff, and yeah, he popped in and said what's up, and yeah, he was in a particularly good mood, which was cool. Um but yeah, he's awesome, man. I appreciate the shit out of
Yeah.
Honda.
But yeah,
Um
dude, be humble or be humiliated. I just
and we had a conversation a couple weeks ago that he's been going through it, and I'm not going to dive into that, but um it made me think about it, and it's like, do we ever really stop going through it? Like, do we ever really stop facing the hardships? Like, what's the key to getting to a point where you don't feel like you have those no more? Every time you level up or every time you take on new things, there's always going to be those. But like, what do we do with that? Like, what do we do with the hardships? Do we just let it beat us up forever, or like, what's the key there? And really, it's the system of bounce. Like, how do you bounce back? Like, what do you do to get back on track? When you fall into that rut and you fall into that drift that we all have. I fucking have went through. I'm on the bounce back now. So I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've been trying to apply different things in my life and getting involved with different people and associating with different people. But it's like, do we ever really stop getting hit in the face? No, I don't think so. Especially if we're chasing a goal, chasing something that's next level. We never really stop getting punched in the face. But it's figuring out the system to recovery. Like, what steps can I put in place so when something happens to me and this happens and I get fucking knocked down and I feel like I'm out of the game, what can I immediately apply in the heat of the moment? What steps can I take to bounce back? And I think that's really um, the important thing to figure out here. And just some things that I've applied, is we've started something new. We've started this podcast. I think that a lot of people who experience not chasing something, a desired, obviously I'm a tattoo brand and I'm always trying to get better there. But it's like chasing something, having a desire to create, also finding the right people to talk to, you know. Um, the power of association is crazy. It's so important. And I know all you guys hear this breached on social media. It's like you are who you surround yourself
right.
with. Um, and a lot of times I surround myself with nobody. Yeah, outside of the shop and the wife and kids. these past few months, I've been surrounding myself with nobody. I've been doing it on my own. I've been cruising. Um, but I found a new coach. I got signed up with a new program, talking with you more, doing this podcast. Fucking got me a therapist just to, just to see, not like I'm really suffering crazy, but just having someone else to talk to, just to see if maybe it helps. Um, I've been talking with Hip more. I've been putting myself in positions to have more conversations with people who are also trying to overcome and thrive. And I think that is huge. Someone who's you're going to talk to and be like, no, dude, you're fucking worth it. You're good. Come on, you're good. Just pick your shit up and let's go.
Yeah.
Versus someone who, like, oh, poor, man, that's, poor thing.
Right.
I feel bad for you, not really have any answers, or they're not going anywhere. So they're like, me too.
Right.
I'm fucking sad too. You know what I'm
So you just
saying?
like stay in that box together.
Yeah, but it's so important. And a lot of people think, well, I don't have that. Well, none of us really have that. We have to fucking find it. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I think that that's so crucial. I don't even remember how we got here, but and this is how a lot of conversations go here. So you
Yeah.
guys got to hang with us. We do this all the time, and we'll just rabbit trail and just like dive down some deep thoughts. But that's just what you're gonna get from us. And we're gonna try to circle back and get back on topic, but that's just how it rolls sometimes.
Well, and the benefit here for everyone involved, the listeners and us, is we can remind this motherfucker and be like, what we say? Let's scrub back a second. But yeah,
so I really just want to follow all that up with we don't really have the answers. I mean, we can give advice and we can kind of speak through experience, but it's never cookie cutter. It's there's so many different approaches and ways for each person that we're just here to really encourage, motivate, fucking light that spark. You know what I'm saying?
let you know that someone else is like also, you're not the only one that's up late at night, like stressed the fuck out, wondering what to do next, or how to level up, or you know, there's so many people that do it, but how many people are talking about? Well, fuck, I can't sleep at night. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, fucking same. You know what I'm saying? I struggle.
Yeah.
But there's power to that, and that's what we're here for ultimately. Because we just had a whole episode on credibility. Just really breaking down what that means, whether it's in the tattoo world or just in general. But what really makes someone credible to say like you're doing the right or wrong thing? I'm not here to do that, but I'm here to definitely make you think about some things.
Yeah.
Maybe perhaps make you think about things differently, or and myself personally to learn something new. So it's not just about me and Chris's thoughts, let us know what you think. What are your like steps to coming back, like what Chris just said. There's got to be some kind of like alterations you've made in your own process to doing that, whether you're aware of it or not. So maybe just hearing us talk about that is what makes you be like, well, damn, I do have a comeback, like a little process that I do. Maybe I get Chinese food when I'm ready to fucking bounce back super hard,
Speaking of, Panda Express just opened up here in
Shoot,
town.
boy.
Yeah, I'm not super stoked because Panda Express, but I'm fucking stoked at the same time.
How many times have you eaten it, though?
I haven't had it yet.
What?
No.
I've eaten there twice already, baby. Dude, I'm so mad that they were open while I was like not paying attention, because as soon as I got back from the wedding, I was like, what the fuck? They're open? I've literally eaten there twice, but I get the largest platter to like eat it like
funny.
4 times.
That's funny.
Shout out to Panda Express. The goats.
Well, shit, guys. Yeah, we really appreciate you sticking around, listen to this episode. Yeah, we got a lot more to talk about. If I recall, we've only just got it into where we started working together, and we've been working together for 6 years. So there's a lot more to come on that journey, and there's a lot more that we want to unravel and share some of the successes, some of the gratitude that we have, while also talking about some of the tough times and some of the hard lessons that's been learned. But again, we want to connect with you guys the most. So jump in, share your thoughts, yada yada. Tim already told you, but yeah, guys, we're gonna wrap up and see you next time.
Yep. Real quick, I'm going to give you the plugs. Of course, you can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, all the major platforms. It's always, you're going to be able to find it there. You can also find it on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram at More Than Tats. I think you type in More Than Tattoos, you're probably going to find us somewhere. Google's strong as fuck. Yeah. But without further ado, appreciate you guys tuning in, and just grateful to be here. Looking forward to the next one. Peace.